I'm getting there, I swear. Let's see. I think the levels
Don't
are
let
up.
me make you feel. I hope I don't make you feel rushed.
Oh no, you're totally fine, bud. I'm making myself feel rushed because I had it all set up and now it's all falling apart before me.
Oh, I, I commiserate. I know. I've seen it. I've been there.
I've been there,
I've
man.
been there. I've felt that.
I seen it. All right. All right, and we got some Fall Guys on the tube finally. Okay.
Oh,
I might turn myself down just a touch. I'm definitely nearly peaking. I
I
don't
love it
want
when
that.
those guys fall.
Everybody does. That's what they're there for. Okay. I think I'm set here. I think I managed to get this going. So let's see here. Okay. Yep, couch is set. The big set is set. Okay. Ready to roll, bud?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And a one, and a two, and
I'm very high on edibles.
I'm high on a lack of sleep. It's gonna be great.
I harvested my. I harvested some plants today.
It's awesome.
I threw the trim, which was probably a lot of trim,
Mm.
right in the butter.
Oh yeah. Got all that trim in the butter?
I think I think I maybe used twice the amount of Rice Krispies. I think I measured with a cup that I believed was a 1/3 cup, and I think it might have been a 2/3 cup. So there's twice as many Rice Krispies. But good news,
Good news.
weird falling apart Rice Krispie treats with that much pot in them still gets you wasted.
Oh yeah, and you can't go wrong with just it's like the Rice Krispie like bit things, you know?
Oh, like when there's like the little clusters
Yeah,
of
there's the little
balls of
clusters. Yeah.
crispy clumps.
Hmm.
It's a little bit like that. It's a little
Okay.
bit just crumbly, but it was like a bowl of pot leaves.
A big bowl of pot leaves.
Yeah, now it's rice crumbles. Now it's crispy crumbles.
Crispy crumbles. There you go. That's your marketing campaign right there. The crispy crumbles. But oh, hi there, gang. I didn't see you out there. No, I'm kidding. I did see you there because I made this happen. I ain't no fool. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Thought That Was Weird. We're sorry for my touch of a late start. As you heard prior, I'm a goof and I don't know how to compute things.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hey, it's
Tony. That's a
technology is, you
technology.
know,
Technologies is for it's for suckers. It's for the birds,
yeah.
with their holographic, existence and so forth. Because that's the thing. Uh,
Holographic birds?
yeah. Apparently that's a big conspiracy theory that birds are just holograms.
Like in the sky? They're holograms?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I heard like when they come and land on your house, they're robot drones.
Well, they only have so many of those drones. Like, the
Are
U.S.
they
government. I'm
so the whole flock is so the drone probably projects a hologram of a whole flock flying
exactly.
along the
Hmm.
starlings, the murmurs.
Totally makes sense. Just like Australia isn't real.
Oh, is that why?
Dude, because the internet. That's why.
The internet isn't real, motherfucker.
No, we
I
we
heard
we
this was all a
we
TV
clearly
show,
learned from that children's song
the most
from that.
popular TV show.
The internet is for poor. Yeah. Anyway,
Oh, I
uh,
don't think that was for children.
that was not for children. That was definitely not for children. That was a very very that was a very old meme. Or I guess it was a meme. It wasn't even around when memes were around, but like it was in that same era of like the Fensler film, GI Joe PSAs and stuff like that. So
It was from like a
it was like
I
a
don't know if
comedy
I want
troupe.
to say a stage play, but it was like a comedy troupe with puppets. It
Oh,
was
was
called
it
Avenue Q,
Q?
I
Yeah.
believe.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that
Yes.
Avenue Q did that song.
It was like a
Okay.
whole thing. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Avenue Q was a whole thing, and they did Internet is for Porn.
Oh, dude, I love it.
And
Yeah, I love
are you
that.
thinking? Tell me how. Tell me. I want to see if you know that song for the reason I know it. What is when you say it was a meme? How did you first encounter it?
So when I first encountered that, um, again, like the Fensler film stuff was big. Um, the Wii song was really big. The Yeah, it was like even before Homestar Runner, and I didn't have a very good computer nor a lot of internet sense, but I had a lot of friends with older siblings that like loved showing the stupid, stuff they ended up finding. And yeah, that song just came about randomly from a friend just showing me one afternoon, like, hey,
Just
check this
audio?
out. Just audio, just as I found out that what Jonestown was by just a random friend
The
of mine.
Suicides?
Oh, yeah, just random internet stuff like that. Oh, yeah, I found out what that was just solely from somebody just playing that whole
Oh
ending
God, the
tape that
tape.
Jim Jones, yeah, that Jim Jones guy.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know, right? Dude, it was a heavy listen because you can hear everything, and kids don't go out there and watch that. Don't be like me. You'll become a degenerate. Uh,
The first time I encountered the internet is for porn, it was World of Warcraft characters singing it.
oh, really?
That's why I was curious if you had seen the vid. It was a early, what do they call that? Machinima. Yeah.
Oh
It
my
was an early
God,
machinima
machinima.
piece with Warcraft characters. I think Machinima is the name of like a company or a group now. But
Yeah,
in like 2004, it just meant make it a little movie with your video game,
pretty much. Like what was it? The Red versus Blue, I
which is
think
what that
was.
was. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think that was like one of the first ones that they did.
Hmm.
Super funny, man. But we're not going to be talking about video game movies today, though. Although the Super Mario movie's coming out soon, isn't it? It's coming out this week.
Like today, like
Is it
this
today?
weekend.
Holy cow!
I don't know. Something. It's coming out.
I don't know. And again, like I'm in that camp where I'm all for Charlie Day voice versus Chris Pratt voice. I'm sorry. Everybody's all about like you know I don't know. I have no issue with Charlie Day doing Luigi, but there's just
Why
some.
would anyone have an issue with Charlie Day?
Yeah, who would have an issue with Charlie Day? I mean, come on. But but no. Today will be
What would Charlie Day ever fucking say
what
to
would
anyone? Day ever
oh,
fucking.
oh, threw up the stream. But
Oh, did we do?
yeah,
Oh,
I'm just
what?
making sure. I'm just making. No, yeah, we're on. We're live. I'm just make. I'm.
Oh,
I
okay.
found that somebody followed, and I always try to make sure that I do my due diligence in saying hello and thank you to those who follow. But of course, I'm a goofball, and I click things because
Yeah,
I'm
man.
old. You get it, dude. It's just you click on things.
Dude, I click on shit all the time.
but but yeah, so
I click on all the wrong shit. I'm going to look for something and something
dude.
pops up that says download now and I click on that wrong shit like an old asshole.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely there. uh yeah, yeah, for some reason that's very weird. Anyhow, Either way, it turned out that I was wrong. See, again, silly. Uh, but yeah, today, folks, on a very special thought that was weird, we're going to
Is this
be.
a special one?
It's a special one because in all honesty, well, at least I threw this whole concept. I mean, we threw this whole concept together kind of over the weekend. Um,
Great news, Thrash.
yes,
We're going to defeat capitalism by eating garbage.
yay! And putting zippers on our tum tums.
Yeah, that's an important part.
uh,
Give
so
me the Tum Zipper and the poisonous purple candy bar.
oh
The
Jesus,
ketchup candy bar.
a freaking. So we're gonna talk about two really really bizarre movies that we made each other sit through this weekend.
And
Uh,
also wax.
and also
We're
Wax.
also going to talk about wax, a recovery
We
of
gotta
television
bring
among
that
the
up at
bees.
some point because they're like and there's also a lot of Canadian politics in today's episode, oddly enough, which I didn't think was going to happen, but it's worth noting. It's very much worth noting.
Okay, I can't wait to hear about it. Truckers or something?
Oh no, we're not. No,
Oh, okay.
no.
That's the
Ew.
only thing I know about Canadian politics.
uh, well,
There are truckers involved in it.
no, not those dudes. No, it's it has to do with YouTube YouTube guidelines and things like
Oh,
that given by the
oh,
Canadian government, and
oh!
that stuff
Not
is
our friend Heinrich, or nobody has to do with Canada. It's YouTube.
well, it has to do with our dear friend Umami, who's a very
Oh,
big
okay.
a very big opponent to a recent bill that I believe was passed in Canada known as Law C11, or Bill C11, excuse me. I don't know if it's law now, but uh, but yeah, there's some real shady shit that the Canadian government's pulling, and it's kind of this sort of Big Brother-esque kind of means of pushing Canadian creators. But we'll discuss that when we get to it. But if you would care, if you unless you would care for me to start, I was gonna leave the floor to you to discuss what the hell that is.
Is it a man covered? Oh no! Is it called a ripjack? Uh,
You know,
Viggo
I thought it was called a fanny
Mortensen.
pack, but it's obviously on a tummy.
It is good. Was there ever like? Oh, they called it a bum bag in Britain. There's nothing like a
A,
tummy sack, or there's some
a
kind of
bum
like.
bag.
There's no term for yeah, a bum bag,
That.
because in Britain your fanny is not your
Oh
butt;
yeah.
it's
Oh
your
yeah. That's right.
vagina.
Actually, that's also the
Uh,
same in Australia. Like
was he
fun
having
facts.
like oh, in Australia your fanny is
Yep,
your
yep. Your
minge?
fanny is your hoo ha, your other euphemisms for the female anatomy. Yes.
Who was that woman? Who's the woman from Earthbound? Is her name Mrs. Is it can't? Oh, it's Mrs. Minch.
You're the Earthbound like aficionado. I'm definitely not.
Viggo Mortensen, is he? Yeah. Is there any kind of? It looks like he's been inflated. I don't recall exactly if they ever do any kind of But she does. She tattoos his organs from the inside. Laparoscopy is what I'm thinking of. Do you know what laparoscopic surgery is?
Oh, you mean like lap band surgery?
No, 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 no. Laparoscopic surgery is an entire. It's a whole
Oh,
method of abdominal surgery
no, I don't think I've heard of
where that's what he's got, these puncture wounds, which is from they're doing. This guy does surgery for fun, uh,
it.
but laparoscopic surgery, they put some puncture. They cut like three holes in your abdomen and they inflate it, so like there's a big gas bubble. They separate all your guts from your abdominal wall, and then they stick like robot arms into there, so there's air, so there's room for them to see around and look at your guts and cut them.
Dude, that's
Without
intense.
without incising, without putting a whole vertical incision in your abdomen like this. So anyway, This movie, Crimes of the Future, is great. Leia
Oh
Sado,
yes.
aka Fragile from
Death
Death
Stranding.
Stranding,
Yes.
she
Fragile.
unzips she unzips Vigo's guts and licks his organs. It's a filthy movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's very disturbing. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That might be one of the worst things. But David Cronenberg is just he
A
just
genius.
lingers on a genius. He just lingers on upsetting and gross scenery. So Leia Sado, Viggo Mortensen. I don't even like. This might be. I might be a fan of Viggo Mortensen because of this movie. I don't think
Mm.
I cared about Lord of the Rings.
I mean,
He's in
I
other
liked it.
Cronenberg movies that I think I've not seen, but I'm not particularly. He was in a horse movie, Hidalgo.
He was in a oh. Yeah, I've heard of it, but I don't remember what it was about. Did you
Yeah.
see it?
So I don't know. I don't
Uh,
think that Viggo Mortensen is really on my radar, but he's a great ghoul and he's a ghoul, a fucking ghoul in this
mm-hmm.
movie.
Oh my
His
gosh.
girlfriend laparoscopically tattoos his organs and then they cut each other for fun. Because there is something like early on in this movie, you may have missed it.
I think I missed that part. Yeah.
There is something where like maybe not everybody, but a lot of people's senses have gone dead, so like they're numb
Mm-hmm.
to touch mostly, so they have to like in order to feel any kind of pleasure to get off at all, they're like slicing each other,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, and doing all this insane stuff to each other.
Oh
So
goodness.
that might be part of the premise, and it honestly might not. This movie is wacky, and I honestly don't know if I like it more than Infinity Pool or not, which is the recent Brandon Cronenberg movie, which I'm going to be discussing with which I watched with T and BG after you left on
Oh yeah, yeah. I ended up
Sunday.
missing that. I passed the hell out. There's a
But
lot of movies on Saturday.
that is a really good film as well. And I mean David Cronenberg
Mm,
is just still hitting them. I feel like he's got some recent work that I need to check out. This movie is
really.
so weird.
Oh
But it's about
yeah. It
it's
gets
about the
heavy.
future. People are all mutated. There's lots of organs and Vigo's just getting surgery for fun.
Oh yeah. Um, should I press on to the
He's also
next?
an artist.
I was gonna say, should we show
Yeah,
some of
yeah, yeah,
his
sure.
fine works,
As a
including
team,
that?
this looks we look at the state of art in such a future, most
Mm-hmm.
specifically performance art. It doesn't seem like there's any aesthetic to the world. The world has gone grimy, as many futures do. But it
Yeah.
just seems that people have lost not just their sense of touch, but their sense of aesthetic. Like there's
Oh
no
yeah.
art anywhere in this movie. Only people
Mutilating
mutilating
themselves.
themselves.
Mm.
Right, you owe me a Coke
Oh,
in
you
this
son of a bitch.
in the name of art, like really.
Mm.
And so this piece had a title, I believe, in the film, which I do not recall, but that's okay.
Mm.
But it is a man who has sewn his eyes and mouth shut, and he's just covered in ears. He's got ears all over his
Oh
whole
yeah.
body,
The entire
and he
body, and
dances
then
around a room,
oh.
waving his ears around.
Mm-hmm. All they can hear it's like hearing the
Very
ocean in
Cronenberg.
3D
Yeah.
or 4D or whatever the hell
Real.
plane that existence that would be. What the hell? But yeah, those ears are
What kind
wild.
of plane of existence indeed?
Like yeah, dude had some wild ears, man. Like there was that, and then
The
okay,
lady that slices herself up.
let me pull up that lady. Yeah.
That lady and this scene and that lady this and again, these are all artists doing performance art at like and you can almost see in the background though, there's like nothing. Yeah. There's
Mm.
no aesthetic. This movie is a good pair to Brandon Cronenberg's, I believe. It may not have been his first film, but it may have been his like big debut, a film called Antiviral, which deals a lot with sort of celebrity worship and the worship of this is more like just the worship of like performance, where
Mm-hmm.
Antiviral is about the worship of celebrities, but they're very closely tied together in the fact that people are elevated to this insane level where
Mm.
she's walking around like a fucking Cenobite with her fucking
It,
face hanging open.
it's like the current generation like Klingon makeup almost. Like it's intimidatingly petrifying and just all out disgusting. I wish we had the picture where Fragile had the little half moons in her head.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, that was fun too. Oh, did you Google bagel head?
I did, and god damn you for it. Like,
I mean, that was a real thing
dude, yeah.
for like 6 months. People were injecting saline into their foreheads because they thought
Oh
it was
man.
funny. It makes my skin hurt.
Oh man.
Like
Did
I
you
feel like,
yeah.
oh
Did you ever hear about the Russian Popeye?
yes,
Oh man. That's another one where
yes.
that's just why would you like it doesn't
It
actually
just
help you
seems
get
painful.
through.
It just seems like
Yeah.
you're painfully swollen and
You're just a bloated oil bag of an
the
existence.
scene, the scene, and the way it really. I'm gonna say that I might say this one or two more times, but the way Cronenberg lingers on gross and upsetting things in the scene where
Oh,
this lady is having her face sliced open and someone is just very
yeah.
delicately separating the layers of flesh and and just
Yes.
gently scooping out little scraping her flesh like it's insane. It's so Cronenberg.
I swear I'm not
This
sick.
movie
I'm
is
laughing.
wild.
Oh man. But yeah, no, it was wild, dude. Like again, I like I think you were about
And
like
you
maybe
know
half an
what?
hour in when you first started.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. You didn't miss a ton. Like you missed the setup and like basically the first
Mm,
meeting between the dad and Vigo kinda, I think, was around where you came in.
dude. Oh man. But yeah, just like the general so like I've known a lot of people that like are into contact piercing and the hook piercing suspension
Oh
crap.
sure.
And
Yeah. This is like yeah.
yeah, that's what I felt watching this. It's like I don't get it, and that's fine. Y'all do what you wish, but like, ah, no, not for me. Thank you. Like, uh, just everything about this was really bizarre. And I love this movie. I absolutely loved this movie. Like, holy cow! Like gore, you know, pure mutilation, making every person that could possibly watch this feel uncomfortable. And I mean, like, growing up in watching horror movies and everything else, like, oh, I think I've seen it all. Oh, we've watched Hellraiser, and God wept,
It sure is a skinless man.
Oh my gosh. And one scene in particular that really got to me was when you had Fragile. So that we'll go back to that picture really quick because this is actually in the film. That's a real like piece
Yeah.
of art that Viggo Mortensen did, and it's a zipper across his entire
Installed in
abdomen,
his yeah.
and it's holding in everything. And then here comes Fragile, like absolutely like o-facing on this and slowly unzipping it.
Making out with his guts.
Yeah, she's
Just like not I'm not kidding. Do exactly that.
ah. Oh man, like
It's hard. Like it's tough.
mm-hmm. It's a rough watch, but if you can get through it, it's totally worth it. It's a
You know,
bizarre film.
I like I obviously really
Mm,
enjoy films where it seems like the filmmaker kind of wants to upset his audience. Like obviously I like that sort of like
mm,
anxiety, like kind of
mm,
just this is very gross. I'm really pushing it. I'm putting something really awful on the screen.
mm.
Obviously I talk a lot about that kind of film, and obviously I've showed you a couple movies like that.
Yeah.
Uh on the level of like just trying to upset people, this
Mm.
movie's pretty tame.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Compared to some movies and how bad they want to just upset the audience, this one's kind of just fun.
Like
It's upsetting in a fun way.
it is very upsetting, including this scene with Kristen Stewart, who makes plenty of appearances in this movie, and actually like
Oh my
yeah,
god.
I hate being that person. Like everybody else. Oh, Kristen Stewart doesn't have like any range, or it's all the same flat butt face all the time. She I thought was fantastic in this movie. She was
She's great.
petrifying because she's a fan of Viggo
She's
Mortensen's, right?
yeah, and she's scary,
Yeah, she's
and
like
she
yeah.
she sticks her finger in his mouth and licks it. In a real bizarrely timid but still upsettingly hungry fashion.
Oh yeah.
Kristen Stewart fucking owns. Let's
Mm,
appreciate Kristen Stewart. I've not seen Spencer. I heard she's very good in it, in a role kind of outside her
mm.
usual characters. I feel like there was something else I wanted to bring up other than underwater, which is this is a still from.
Oh okay.
I had another picture of her, and I think the first picture I found might have been like literally the very last scene of the movie. But I feel like this movie might open and close with like a very straight on shot of her character like this. This movie's called Underwater.
Mm.
I mentioned to you this may or may not be something that this may or may not be an episode we do. I'm not sure. I feel like I'm not positive about what I'm going to discover when I look into Chester Brown. Do you remember
Chester
me
Brown.
telling you there's also a comic book called Underwater?
Yeah, I think you did. Is it that bad?
I don't think underwater I think is probably unintelligible. I think it's probably like complete nonsense. Uh
As if Salvador Dali just like kind of threw a film together, sort of thing, just complete
it,
surrealist sort of thing.
yeah, I feel like there's like dialogue in the comic book that is just like literal gibberish.
Hmm, that's interesting.
Um yeah, Chester Brown definitely wrote like an entire graphic novel about his like masturbatory practices. He also that's not underwater. That's called The Playboy. He wrote another graphic novel called Paying for It, which is
I can only.
very pro sex work, but I'm not
Dude.
sure. I'm not sure if I go and revisit it. I'm not sure how well it's going to have aged because it was very pro sex work around like the year 2000.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
I mean, which is still his views are probably pretty, but I still have no. I have a feeling I'm gonna find several things. Well, first of all, he wrote a whole graphic novel, 100, 200 pages about his masturbatory practices. But what if I told you this? What if I told you that the popular Web 2.0 webcomic, It Never Rains on Monitor Hill, had a single and specific piece of inspiration, and
Really?
that piece is "I Never Liked You" by Chester Brown. The three,
Oh.
the three, other than Underwater and Ed the Happy Clown, which the Umami piece reminded me of,
Hmm.
the three books he's known for are the one that he talks about his masturbatory practices, the one where he talks about paying for sex,
We're gonna have the masturbatory practices counter on the bottom screen, so just be ready for that.
and the one and the one that very specifically inspired me as a young man about his childhood. So I might have to talk about Chester Brown. I obviously hadn't thought about this artist in 20 years, I don't think.
Jeez Louise.
I
That's
have a feeling there's going to be I have a feeling there's going to be something very sexist or very untoward somewhere or so,
yeah.
but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. For some reason, I kind of think back to the 90s, and
Oh
I
yeah.
just think, well, there was a lot of racism back then.
Oh yeah.
But it could just be that I kind of have that feeling.
No, no, I'm right there with you. There was a lot of stuff kind of undertoned into everything else, so people could get away with
Yeah,
that kind of grossness.
it was weird. It was weird. It was like, yeah, it was on the surface, but it
Mm,
also wasn't. Obviously, yeah.
right. Um,
Anyway,
I was gonna say like really quick. Have you ever seen a Serbian film or heard
no
of it?
way.
You seen it?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
Why should I?
Mm, mm.
Or just because I like being upset?
It's because you like
I
being
don't like
upset.
Dan Aronofsky.
So so um so that's what I was gonna kind of like. That's what I think the movie was trying to make the point of, is that you can have all the blood, guts, and gore that you want, but you need to have something sustaining all of that. You can't build a house on a foundation of sand, and that's what I felt that a Serbian film, in comparison to Crimes of the Future, that's what a Serbian film did. Is that they built an
Foundation
entire
of Sand.
foundation out of sand and then tried to build a house on top of it,
Okay.
like, and it was terrible. Like, it was really, at the end of the day, all about you know the the famous scene of the fetus getting pulled out of the woman's womb, like, and then what was it, it was like kicked or something. I haven't seen it in a minute, but either way, like, it was just pure shock value. It was like in like trying to bring back that era of, like, Faces of Death and all those, like, real
Okay.
life gross out movies.
Yeah.
And I think it was trying to create like an era of mystery around, like, oh my god, I heard it was a real baby fetus they used on set. Oh, when, I mean, come on, you know, uh, David Lynch already did that.
Let's get as upsetting as possible, kind of.
Yeah,
That, the beyond edge lordery, like
beyond
dark
Schlery, yes.
cannibal holocaust. The director got arrested. There's these rumors, we don't know what actually happened. Blah, blah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When the reality was,
Back
it
and
was,
then
yeah,
the rumor and the whole spin of the way it's being marketed as this
yeah. It's the marketing rather than the actual film being, worth the watch. And that's what I would say set this movie apart from movies like that. I like, as a film watcher, this is
this
fantastic.
one's got world building.
It's got that character and world building that, you
Yeah,
desire.
man. Oh yeah, it's got character, man.
Hmm.
Timlin is a fucking ice cold villain.
Like, oh, jeez Louise. But yeah, again, thank you for showing me
Timlin.
that, because I definitely
I
saw that
love
shit in some
Kristen
dreams.
Stewart.
Hmm. Back to Kristen Stewart. What about Kristen Stewart?
No, I did not. I love her.
Oh
There's
yeah.
one other role. There's one other role of hers that I feel like I'm forgetting about, but she's awesome.
Yeah, she like, again, I would definitely admit that I was in that camp of, she doesn't, like, have any real range, and it's just like, woman, like a woman questioning everything in every single scene. But yeah, no, she had real, like, she really made me uncomfortable. Like, she like nailed it in that scene, sticking her finger in Viggo Mortensen's mouth. Like,
Just so weird.
terrible. But
I think a lot of people don't like Underwater, and I think Underwater is fucking great.
dude, what? Yeah, what a weird movie. Is this would this get the CuyaDK stamp of don't watch this, or would you say, or or
No,
the don't watch or
I
watch
mean, I
this?
think as long as you understand that this is a movie about surgery, about autopsies, and there is a very upsetting murder that occurs, just in not in the execution of it, but just uh a child is murdered by his mother that's really the what do you call that, the inciting incident, and really what the whole movie's about. But it's
Oh yeah.
not what the
The
movie's about. The movie's about surgery and autopsies. So as long as you know that, go ahead.
hmm
This is great. Go watch it. This does not fall into my, yeah, this is a tame one.
Oh yeah.
This doesn't fall into my do not watch this movie. Like, don't go watch Upstream Color. Don't watch Eraserhead. Don't watch Evangelion. Jesus Christ. But Crimes of the Future, have a ball. It's Saturday night. Yeah.
I guess it's
Crack
Saturday
open a
night.
beer and watch Crimes of the Future.
I guess
I
it
still
makes it
haven't
over.
gotten to Kindred the Embraced. I can't wait for Kindred the Embraced.
Kindred the Embrace. I'm not familiar.
Oh, that's the Vampire the Masquerade TV show that I was supposed
Oh.
to, my friend Saint, and we haven't, I haven't, it was one of the things I was supposed to watch on Sunday and we haven't watched yet, but it's going to be very bad and I should have alcohol and yeah. So crack open a beer, watch Crimes of the Future, and then put on a couple episodes of Kindred the Embraced. That's my, whoa, getting hiccups.
Ah. Did that help?
Edibles and soda. Yeah,
Edibles
Crimes of
and
the Future is great. I really, yeah.
yeah. I would recommend this one too. This was a good one. Really, really good one. But all right. So upon so I guess we'll press on to the great film by Umami interface. If you care to go on from there, unless you had anything else to add about Crimes of the Future.
Kristen Stewart is great. Let's watch Spencer next.
Deal. Yeah, Kristen Stewart
Probably
was
not
great.
very weird, actually.
No, probably not, but still, probably I'd be all about watching it. All right, so after we watch this, I put it upon
Umami.
us to watch a fantastic film by uh, a I think more known animator than I think that he gives himself credit for. But the animator Umami made this web series called Interface. Um, and actually, before we get into it, I sincerely thought that this was going to be like a short topic, just like kind of because it's a bizarre film. It's kind of like it was like almost like watching Wax again, but like in a weird
It's a
like
lot like Wax.
yeah, and this weird pixelated sort of like style. And again, not trying to necessarily compare, but it definitely gave that disjointed time frame um, feeling, like you didn't necessarily know where you were in the film, and that in turn kind of made it very enjoyable. But as I was like, I rewatched it again yesterday just to kind of make sure that it was still fresh in my mind. And I started noticing that there's just layers upon layers of references to real life fine art and real life, like real life historical events. Some of those events are pretty wild, and I was unaware of this until like I actually sat down and did the research for this. Uh, and let alone all these creators right here, by the way, super helpful in the references to understanding what the film was about, including uh, interviews with Justin Tomchuk Umami himself. Uh, but again, Art Deco, fantastic YouTube channel, does a lot of explanation about art history. If you're really into that, and like sincerely, if I had Art Deco as my art history teacher, I probably wouldn't have dropped out of college. Brainlights kind of gave some insight on a couple of the pieces that Umami gives reference to, and then oh goodness, it's a bit pixelated. Hold on, GP Reads, that's who it was. So GP Reads um, did a real interesting breakdown of the story of Interface, but I'm gonna try to stick. I kind of wrote most of this before I walked in and watched his stuff, but he did a couple of
All right.
interviews with Umami that were really fascinating, and I really enjoyed Justin Tomchuk talking about the process and also about a lot of his political work. So like I guess we'll start from the beginning here. So Interface is a film by Umami, Justin Tomchuk. It was released in 2017. It was a addition to the Montreal Film Festival. It was very highly praised. It's and it was well deserved. A phenomenal animated film. Um, but whoop, where did we go? But again, so again, Justin Tomchuk here. This guy has been doing so much for Canadian animators and artists alike, because as of right now, Canada is dealing with this weird law, which we were discussing earlier. So that would be Canada Law C11, or I don't know if they've gotten into law yet. I might have to do some more research. I didn't do my due diligence because I'm not gonna dip too much into the actual politics of it, but I think it needs to be known what is actually being done to artists, though. The Canadian government has been pushing to make YouTube and other video platforms alike and its content creators to follow the same rules as major television networks. So in Canada, they have like rules about you have to show so much Canadian made content in order for you to be like within the threshold of discussion, not discussion, be within the threshold of like being allowed to still air things.
Okay.
And it's within this law that they're trying to use that for YouTube. But the thing is that like on YouTube, the algorithm makes it so like particular niches and like animator styles like you can usually find just within your feed just because you watch that type of content. But what Canada is doing is they're pushing all of the quote unquote legacy content, like all the long-standing big money influenced like viewers paid for content, and it's essentially leaving in the dust a lot of independent creators, much like Tomchuk himself. um uh like who else, like Some Ordinary Gamer is another very big Canadian YouTuber. Asmon Gold, like, yeah. And I would even go as far as to say that it also affected probably one of my favorite Canadian YouTuber animators, Drew Langlois. And Drew Langlois, like,
Okay.
yeah, that's the Dudes of Hazmat guy, the guys wearing the
Yes,
hazmat
yes,
suits
yes,
and
yes.
stuff. Yes, yeah, fantastic series. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Let's see where I left off here. So, but yeah, like Justin over here has done a lot of really fantastic pieces. Uh, I was first introduced to his work during the pandemic. I was watching a an animated like an animated collection of shorts called Smalls on Adult Swim, and within that set, it featured a sort of a It parody, like the Pennywise the Clown. It,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So it there was a parody of It, and it involved as you see the little character there, that's Mischief. Mischief is a interdimensional weird clown, and it's fantastic. What But anyway, like there was a scene where like Mischief is like sees a kid playing with the boat, just like in It. The boat goes into the sewer. Here comes Mischief, and he goes, hey, you shouldn't be reaching down in here. There's tons of germs and stuff. Like
Hmm.
just, yeah, because that's just what Mischief does. He's not, you know, he's not meant to be like mean or anything like that. And he's a
He doesn't
wonderful
devour
smart.
children. He's a
He's
shape-shifting clown spirit, but not the kind that devours children.
indeed. Uh, but yeah, and another interesting thing that I learned was that a couple of the scenes in this movie had um portions written by another great. I didn't realize that. I don't know if they were Canadian or not, but a improv group, I believe, is what I would believe you would call it. But a group called the Minute Hour, who does a whole bunch of really weird. They basically do these weird audio sketches, and then they have independent animators come and animate it for them along, and it's fucking hilarious. Drew Lingwad did a couple of those too, but I guess we'll go into the storyline of what this is about. So who we have here on the left hand side is a man named Henrik Niebieski. He is a former film military photographer, and just one afternoon he's walking through, shops and or walking down the street, and he sees like a little shop, and he's sitting there staring at these mannequins. He is then approached by this mysterious clown spaghetti being, and that would be our friend on the right, Mischief. Mischief, the incorporeal clown, and Mischief basically just out of nowhere taps this dude on the shoulder.
His last name is not Beksinski, is it?
No, it's
It's not
Niebieski. It's Polish.
Nebinski.
Or so,
Okay,
yeah,
not
Niebieski.
Beksinski.
No.
Okay, just checking. I was a lot of things have been. I've been having a lot of things get mentioned in two completely different conversations over the course of the past couple. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's okay.
The guy I said is a totally different guy. Never mind. It's a similar last name.
Oh man. Whoa, what is going on here? Okay, I'm sorry. I had a clip set up, and I'm not sure if it's going to actually work or not because it's not coming up. What?
You got it? It's a media source that you have, or
It's a media source thing. I was going to play just a little quick excerpt from it, but apparently, oh, there it goes. Now it wants to work. Okay, wait, hold on. There. Okay, now it wants to work. So, yes, this is probably one of my favorite scenes from Umami's interface. Get ready.
I'm a frog, and I'm feeling fresh.
Fantastic. It's a bizarre film.
I like it when he's. I like it. I like the animation of the frog like actually hopping along, and it's like weird things are happening to its face as it's like flinging itself forward.
Oh, when it's sitting there in ribbits for like a minute and a half.
Yeah, different kinds of trying to get more
froggy.
It's almost like getting more froggy. Yeah.
So good, so good. So but yeah, and that doesn't explain a thing, and there's a reason why I'm gonna try.
This image is so Klasky Supo looking.
Oh,
so
yeah.
a lot of this is.
I get a lot of like Duckman feels for sure. Like kind
of
that, like
real.
Duckman, Jonan at Vasquez, like kind of scratchy, sort of artistic feel. But anyway, so these two just meet on a random encounter, and when Mischief meets our friend Henrik here, he begins to tell him the story of his existence, and Mischief begins explaining that he was a crew member on a boat, and they don't say which boat, but he was a crew member on a boat.
This is a real boat. This is a famous thing.
This was a real famous boat, and I think we might have to dedicate an episode to that, but we'll get to that in a second.
I don't know if it's real. Actually, I don't know if it's real or not.
But
it is a thing people talk about. But it is folklore.
That's the fun part.
Okay.
But
this is American folklore, where as far as I'm comfortable defining it. I don't know
if you like Bermuda Triangle shit, you're gonna love this. For anyone for anyone out there who's familiar with the Philadelphia experiment, this movie makes a very fantastic reference to it, and it's a mind blower. It's fantastic. But basically, Mischief.
That's what happened in 1943.
That's what happened in 1943 when Mischief.
And now we live in the shadow world.
He lived on he was part of the crew of the USS Eldridge, and it
Oh,
was
is
on.
that the name of the boat? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the real name of the boat, but they don't state the name of the boat in the movie. But
Oh,
yes,
okay, okay.
but per the
It was
actual.
really the USS Eldritch? That's gotta be folklore.
Mm,
That's some HP Lovecraft made that shit up.
well, here's the thing: is that Eldridge was a real ship that was
Did it disappear?
Well, I guess hold on. Let me.
I don't want you to get ahead of yourself or anything
Oh
like
no, it's
that.
okay. I'll pull that up because it's stupid fascinating. So this was the scene from Umami's interface, and here is the actual USS Eldridge. Now, the thing that the story in Umami, and again, I'm going to try really hard not. I think it's at this point we should probably say spoilers for those who want to watch it themselves.
Well, I mean, already things I've said, yeah.
But yeah, not a big deal. But I mean, it's so disjointed
I
that
mean, I
it's not going to
assume
make any
that
sense
like
anyway. But that's the beauty of the film, is that it's supposed to have these open interpretations. So, but the
yeah.
USS Eldridge was a ship that was docked supposedly in Philadelphia, and on the ship it had a handful of electromagnetic generators, which the U.S. government was trying to use to counteract against the deep sea mines that the Germans were using. Their idea was they would put on these electromagnetic generators that would just completely curb their general output of electromagnetic energy, and it would basically make the mines. It would basically make them invisible to the mines. And this was like tested for years and years and years throughout, like right around until like I think it was like 40. I think it was 44 when they actually got it down pat, and then the Germans like had to.
Cloaking field.
Hmm?
Cloaking field.
Cloaking. Yeah, it was basically like a gigantic cloaking field, but it was only meant to be for for the mines, not and possibly radar. But the beauty of it is that it is, and this is per the actual lore of the Philadelphia experiment. But the generators were, you know, the USS Eldridge was in the middle of in the port in Philadelphia, and all of a sudden, when they hit the generators for this electromagnetic field, they they basically became engulfed in a weird green fog, according to eyewitness reports. And again, who knows where those eyewitnesses, were or are. Um, but the bystanders said that a green fog like enveloped the ship, and the ship mysteriously vanished. Um, it somehow made its way to Norfolk, Virginia. And what was really strange about that, quick transfer, if you look on a map, it's quite a distance away between Philadelphia and Norfolk, Virginia. But it was reported that the ship had arrived in Norfolk, Virginia, 10 minutes before it was supposed to set off in Philadelphia. So people are saying that it,
Oh.
it traveled through time and teleported itself. The other weird thing about this is they said that the crew aboard the ship, all however many hundred of them, were uh, basically broken down to the molecular level and fused into the hull of the ship.
Wait, that's real world folklore. They said that
Well,
happened.
this is the real world folklore of this.
I hadn't heard that part in the real world. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was just in the movie.
Oh, and yeah, no, that's well, that's part of the real folklore, but it's been disproven a handful of times. Like it was really broadly publicized by a lot of like UFO enthusiasts that believed it might have been aliens.
Yeah,
Freaking
right. That's what. Yeah,
Slim
I
Jim
feel
guy,
like
whatever. Yeah. Um,
UFO people and Bermuda guys who
UFO
talks about
people
it.
and
Yeah.
Bermuda guys, exactly. But yeah, it reported that like most of the ship's crew was lost. They were burned very severely, and that a handful of them were fused at molecular level to the ship. But what's even more
Wacky.
interesting is that the USS Eldridge was actually not ported in Philadelphia ever, as far as I've understood. It was not actually in Philadelphia. It was in New York, which is where Interface took place.
Yes.
And again, like, as much as we like to think that, like, we can, in a weird static haze, just transferred from one place to another, like we're in Star Trek, and not have the Spaceballs-esque, like, consequences of having our front butts, you know. But yeah, that was based off of real experiments done by the U.S. government, but it was very obviously a conspiracy theory, just kind of fed by a bunch of really weird conspiracy theorists, like enthusiasts. Um, so going back to the explanation of Henrik and Mischief here. So within the storyline of Interface, it started off in Philadelphia, then it made its way to New York, and it's within New York that the the ship materializes. Mischief was an actual human being at one point, and
Yes.
becomes absolutely destroyed and becomes a gigantic being of pure soul energy. Because like this,
Real wax type shit.
oh yeah, the the ship caused a nuclear explosion to happen, which also kills our friend Henrik here. But it's within the like the explosion and the teleportation that it rips the time space continuum and basically opens the world up to um, ghosts, deities, and spirits. They become visible to mankind, and Mischief ends up becoming this like gigantic being of pure soul energy, and is promptly shot by the U.S. government, which makes him explode. Um, and cause almost like the equivalent of like the second impact in Evangelion, going back to Evangelion.
Yeah, yeah. Ever since 1943, we have dwelt in the shadow realm or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Everyone, yeah. Everyone born since then has been born into a false reality or something. So many things that I've been talking about with everyone I'm talking about are crossing over. It's
Oh yeah.
because like this is a lot of what the World of Darkness and Vampire the Masquerade has to do with this kind of thing. Dwelling in the shadow realm once the illusion of reality has been shattered.
Hmm. Yeah,
I like it. Also,
it's a
is
good
there a
one.
sense, is the interface something that was like, is there a sense of some entity that was around before this shattering that is now kind of guiding Mischief or influencing everything? Is there a sense of that? Is something like that hinted at?
I believe that there's mention of that,
Like
but
an
it's
ancient mind or something?
and it's not to say that convoluted in a negative way. It's just very very in depth,
Yeah.
and
No, it's very, and all of the actual plot lines are very kind of hinted at. You know, a lot of
yeah,
this is not specifically explained or explored,
no.
and it's that kind of textural, waxy, type of thing.
Yeah,
It's
and
type of
that's the beauty of
narrative.
it. That's the beauty of this film. Um, but so anyway, Henrik ends up finding out that Mischief is also a being of pure energy, and Henrik himself is also himself was severely impacted by uh the effects of this first impact, if you will. Um, Henrik was again a military photographer, and he was of course taking pictures for the U.S. military out in New York, and that's when everything went down. The nuclear explosion happens, and he is basically vaporized, but it is somehow within his will to live, as well as the spiritual phenomenon that is happening around him, that he's able to bring himself back together, but in turn is stuck in a infinite time loop, much like what happened to our friend Mischief here. And they basically both are these immortal beings stuck in a time loop. and it is through their like kind of mutual fascination with each other that they somehow cross paths at some point, no matter how far the distance was. um Henrik basically is like, you know what, dude, I'm gonna follow you in whatever the hell you're doing. And mind you, he doesn't say a damn thing throughout the entire movie, which is great. Like, I like those movies where you have a main that doesn't like that doesn't try to over explain himself. And Henrik is definitely in that field. But yeah, basically Mischief leads Henry on a series of events that could
Does
potentially lead.
Henrik speak?
Henrik does not speak, or at least as far as I've
Okay.
understood.
So yeah, there you go. Yeah. Okay, just
Because there are
yeah.
times
So we
where
don't
there's
get a
like
lot from
disembodied
him
voices.
specifically.
Yeah, there's these
Yeah,
disembodied voices that just show up randomly, and you start to wonder who's actually
pieces of his
speaking.
past and stuff. Yeah.
Indeed. Um, but uh, but yeah, they basically go on this little misadventure to try and put together the pieces of what happened uh, to them, and coming across multiple like roadblocks in their journey, whether it be the Greetings Robotics Company or um, uh, not eating enough souls and just all sorts of other really fun stuff. Uh, there's an octopus chef that makes sashimi. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like that dude. I should have probably grabbed a
that's
picture of
great.
him.
The
But
Octopus Chef is great.
yes, the octopus chef was fantastic. But the thing that I really wanted to get into was the like. So I guess I'll start with this scene since it's the first on my notes, but we'll go back to the other one here. But this scene in particular, when explaining Mischief's human origins, do you recognize that picture in anything? Like, have you seen that before? That type of pose?
I'm not too sure about the pose, but it brings to mind Shinji sitting in a chair under a spotlight.
hmm Well, it could be a reference to that too. I mean, again, First Impact reference, very much so.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that kind of thing. Sure. Yeah.
But what I thought was really fascinating is that it looked very similar to this painting. This is Jan
Okay.
Matejko Stanzik, or Stanzik during a ball at the court of Queen Bona in the face of the loss of Smolensk. Um,
Okay.
so this guy, well, not really this guy, and again, Art Deco really covers it. Shout out to Art Deco. Really explains uh, in depth what this whole painting was about. And that one is that's not Stanzik. That's actually the painter Matejko. But because nobody, I guess, historically knew what Stanzik, the court jester, actually looked like, but he's a actually fairly well known uh, court jester. He had a lot of political power for just being a court jester. So check this: he was a Polish jester, historically reveled by like the courts that he like would entertain, mostly because he had a very biting wit and he was a fantastic satirist. So much so that he could shape royal decisions solely by pointing out the hypocrisies and displaying it in an amusing way. Um, but yeah, he had a lot of political power, and I've come to find that a lot of this film does a lot of references to a lot of fine art and historical
Okay.
like
That makes
happenstances.
sense.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and again, super fascinating. And the thing that I had thought about as it pertained to this was again, Mischief you see in the kind of a similar pose. And although like Mischief existed for centuries, he's forever doomed to watch humanity fail at his feet, despite his amusing warnings of like, you really shouldn't smoke so many cigarettes, things like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
He tries to be forewarning and things like
Where do
that.
you keep getting those?
Where do you keep getting those? um, and, and and in this particular painting, it's again it's referencing the loss of Smolensk, which is and now a city in Russia. But Smolensk um, was lost in 1514, if I'm not mistaken, and basically and again it's called Stanchik during a ball at the court of Queen. It's a mouthful. Stanchik during a ball at the court of Queen Bona in the face of the loss of Smolensk. So in the background of this painting on his right, you see all the dignitaries, all the elites, hanging out, chuckling, and everything else, and then you have the guy that's supposed to be the jovial entertainment. He sees on the table a letter which is explaining the fall of Smolensk, and he's just absolutely distraught. And he doesn't want to be entertaining anymore, and he doesn't know how to make this entertaining enough so people will change their ways or will actually care that this city had fallen. Yeah, a very, very powerful piece. I think a lot of people made memes about it, but I was not familiar with it.
Probably, yes.
Yeah, I was not familiar with it from that. I'm trying to remember where I'd first. I'm trying to remember where I'd first seen it, but it's been used a lot. But yeah, again, the fun thing about Umami's referencing is that he seems to use a lot of works from the Montreal Museum of Arts.
Okay.
And one in particular, if I can find it again. Oh, so we'll go to this scene right here. So, are you familiar with those two pieces that Mischief and Henrik are sitting in front of, or standing in front of?
One of them is the guy. Well, this one, the green apple, appears all over this film. Is that Magritte? Is that
Yes, Rene.
Okay. I don't know about the angel statue. I know about Rene Magritte.
Well, we'll start with
Magritte. A train comes out of the fireplace.
Yeah, a very much so a very surrealist painter. Loved putting things in front of people's faces. It was very
pipe guy. Did he paint a pipe and write "This is not a pipe"? Or is that a different French guy? That's a different. That's some surrealist. That might not be this guy.
I don't know, but that'd be interesting. But I'm trying to remember where I got this quote from. But there was a quote that he had made about this piece because everybody made note about for one, if you look at the way that the apple is, it's not actually people made the suggestion it's falling in front of his face.
Oh my god, it is the pipe. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. That's good.
Rene Magritte, one of his famous paintings. It's just a painting of a pipe, a smoking pipe, and below it in cursive it says in French, "This is not a pipe," which is true and also false because it's a painting. It's not a pipe. It's a painting.
Yeah.
But also, it's a painting of a pipe. So it's an early. This sentence is false.
Yeah, it's a lot of referencing these sort of surreal artists that basically made you really think about what they were trying to say, despite the fact that they weren't necessarily saying anything.
Right.
So this is a quote from Rene Magritte. Everything we see hides another thing, and we always want to see what is hidden by what we see. There is an interest in that which is hidden, and which the visible does not show us. This interest can take this interest can take the form of quite an intense feeling, a sort of conflict, one might say, between the visible that is hidden and the visible that is present. So, and basically what I got out of that quote is he paints to fuck with people, and I kind of like that.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, that's very good that you knew who Magritte was. I was not familiar until I did the research for this episode. But yeah, I failed art history terribly, and
there's a bunch of he's got a bunch of real iconic. I mean, this is yeah, he's a well-known guy, but it's okay not to. It's definitely okay not to know who Rene Magritte is. Yeah.
But yeah, I would say for everybody out there, check out the other works. They're fucking cool. They're really bizarre, and it's a lot more
Train
things of
drives out of the fireplace.
a lot of weird things in front of people's faces. Um,
Yeah.
so I couldn't find anything too much about the other piece that was in that frame, but that is a real piece in that in interface.
Oh, okay.
That is the
Whoa.
statue by David Altmed called the
It
Eye,
lo- Are
which
you
is
sure this is not a piece of AI artwork?
no, this is a bronze sculpture.
Seems to have
It's
a problem with fingers.
oh yeah,
Oh, this is an enemy from Elden Ring.
very much so. But but the eye is on display at the Museum of Fine Art in Montreal, and yeah, I wasn't able to really find out what the representation was or the interpretations. It just looked really cool,
It
and
looks cool as shit.
yeah, and David Altmed is kind of that kind of a guy. He's like, yeah, it's mostly about what kind of aesthetic works for me, sort of thing. I watched I think it was a Vice interview or something like that. But but basically at the end of the day, all it came down to was yeah, like it was plopped right in front of the museum, and apparently it's a major attraction to people. So again, with Justin Tomchuk, aka Umami, being such a big, being a Canadian and a very devout Canadian at that, he decided to give his nods to this particular Canadian artist, and rightfully so. It's a very interesting, weird piece. But what else do we got here?
Lots of fingers.
Oh, another very interesting piece that I could not find any sort of discussion about. Well, at least from the artist himself, that was coherent. I had a quote about this piece. This is Salvador Dali's Geopoliticus child watching the birth of the new man. And
Oh. Yeah,
yeah,
is this a real painting?
this was actually a real painting. Hold on, let me pull that up. This one. Super bizarre and very much
Oh
in the
shit,
wheelhouse
okay,
of
yeah,
Salvador Dali.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this was made in 1943. This was just before the U.S. involved itself in World War II. This was after Pearl Harbor. This was, I think this was painted after Pearl Harbor, right before they kind of injected themselves into World War II. And this was around the time where Salvador Dali had, moved away from Europe during the war and was hiding out in the U.S. And as you can see, you see a strong being pushing its way out from where, if you look really closely, the egg that he is in is a map of the world, and you can see his hand reaching out behind him and grasping at Europe and trying to stretch its legs and trying to and it's a very powerful statement about what the US at the time's status was before this war started. And now that the war had begun for the US, it was really showing its true quote unquote power, if you will. And which is I believe to be the representation of the blood, as well as the tear of the tear that's coming out of Africa in the left hand side of, if you're facing Africa, there's like a little tear there. um, and a lot of really weird references. But the thing is that Salvador Dali had this weird quote where he just talked about eggs as it pertained to this painting. It was just about eggs. I have no idea what the hell he was talking about, and that was kind of beauteous about it. But but yeah, this was made reference to again about a sort of you know birthing of a superpower, if you will. And Salvador Dali kind of knew that, being in America as long as he was during the war. And yeah, it was only rightfully so. I thought that was a fairly nice reference um, to just general geopolitics within the interface film. I thought it was really nicely placed and a very interesting nod to Salvador Dali. Let's see. Oh, and again, for anybody that doesn't want to know spoilers or the ending, you know, please turn away for a second. But we will be discussing the ending here. So what do you know of, like, what does this make you think of when you look at it?
Oh yeah. One time Spike Spiegel and his friends were there. One time there was an anteater at this restaurant. Uh, is Spike Spiegel, is that the name of the guy who eats bell peppers and beef with no beef?
Yes, that was Spike
His name
Spiegel.
is Spiegel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One time him and his friends were at this bar.
Yep.
One time there was an anteater there. One time I think the Futurama guys went to this bar.
Yeah, it's a fairly commonly referenced piece of art. This is,
Yeah.
in fact, Edward Hopper's Nighthawks. Um,
Yeah, where's the one with the anteater?
yeah, I don't have that one. I was unaware of the,
You
the,
you know
the
Oh,
anteaters.
you don't know about the anteater?
I did not know about the anteaters. I wish I did, because I would have probably thrown that one in there too. Because again, this is such a commonly referenced piece in multimedia that, like, I'm shocked that I didn't find one that a funny one that I really wanted to use, or that I could use technically. But
Oh, apparently this is a piece by Banksy,
oh, they
the
also did
anteater.
he Banksy did a piece about this.
The anteater piece that I'm thinking of that I'm about to send to you
Oh,
is apparently a Banksy piece. Oh no, it's a WebP. I can't send it to you. I can send you a link.
oh, that's silly. That's interesting though.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, the
But
the,
yeah.
the the parody that I thought was just a meme is apparently a Banksy piece.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Oh shit. Um. On
There
let me
you
see
go.
if I can throw this on stream here really quick, because it's too good to not talk about. That's so
Hey,
funny.
can I take a bathroom break and
Yeah, yeah. If you need to step
grab a
away for a
drink?
second, no problem, and
Yeah.
then I'll get this set up.
I'll
So
be like right back.
yeah,
Not even five. Well, five.
yeah, no problem, dude. I'll pull
Oh.
this up. Um, so let's see if we can find this here. Ba-ba-da-ba-bum. This piece. This piece right here, officer. Where is it? Da-da-da-dum. Transform to screen. Well, apparently it's not letting me do that. Because why would it? Shit. Why you do this to me, Demi? I guess I'll just show my screen here really quick. If it will allow me. Apparently it won't. Oh, there we go. That's funny. That's super funny. I like that. I am all about that. It's just so heartbreaking. What? Sup, bro? We'll throw a chair at your window. It's so good. Um, he hath returned.
Okay.
All good, bud. All right, so this is, of course, Edward Hopper's Nighthawks. This was painted shortly after the bombing of Pearl Harbor and the U.S.'s entrance into World War II. It was within this time period that major cities were doing like blackout drills and things like that. And apparently Hopper would go on these walks during these blackout drills and would find a couple of shops still open. And this was one of those kind of like lonely moments that he was kind of wandering through the streets and ended up finding this little cafe. Um, and per my interpretation of it, it almost gives this sort of sense of like sadness and loneliness to the viewer that, the kind of an outside looking in sort of perspective. The longer we sit there and we stare at those people, uh, we feel like the loneliness of the dude sitting by himself at the bar, and you also feel a sense of sadness for the couple sitting there too. Like the man, of course, is sitting by himself. He's got his head kind of hanging low, and he's trying to mind his own. And he obviously it seems distraught about something. And the couple is very much not having a good time with each other. We feel comfort in the familiarity of these very familiar spaces, and we feel this sense of comfort from people that we know in our everyday lives. But even the comforts of familiarity and the warmth of the lights from the cafe, um, we still are kind of beside ourselves in this sort of weird voyeuristic moment. And again, the body language kind of sells it all from like you can even see like the soda jerk is kind of like okay, get the hell out. I'm trying to clean up. I'm trying to close this shit down. It also kind of gives that sort of like that old timey, simpler time sense of like you know having those type of familiar spaces. It's almost as if as much as we'd like to reach out, almost shout from the street corner to these people. Um, you know, we are just we as the viewer are just kind of standing there, unable to interact with the people, and again, just this overwhelming sense of loneliness and sadness that you can sense from everybody in that bar. And I think that's what I really liked about the way that they ended the way that Umami ended the film on this particular um going back to it, this referencing this particular painting, is because
Yeah.
and I'm not going to spoil too much, but you still have a sense of Heinrich, still feeling as lonely as he did from the beginning, as much as he had, you know, pursued the things that he pursued. He, still has these very incomplete portions of his life, and he's uncertain if, being this immortal being still, if he can continue onward. But, but yeah, like I love a lot of the fine art references that this film makes. And I love this art. I love Umami's art style. Like perfectly like sketchy, and it's almost like directly rough, if that makes sense.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
meant to still maintain like it's still meant to maintain like a sense of you know reality, but it gives this sort of fuzziness that it kind of takes you out of it still. Like you're there, but you're not. It's almost like you're high. You're kind of there, but not there.
It's a good thing to look at when you're high.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
tell you
this
that.
movie is definitely one of those burnout and watchers for sure. Um, Now going to the historical references. The historical references in this film were super fascinating. We already discussed the Philadelphia experiment, and I guess we'll end on this because this was super interesting to me. Was the scene where they show where mischief comes from. You have this dreamland, which was which was opened in 1904 on Coney Island. This is actually a real place, or at least it was in New York. And even more fascinating is, again, fantastic historical referencing on Umami's part, was that this place also fell to a fire. It was May 27th, 1911. Workers were finishing up touches on a sort of attraction within the park. It was mostly like a fairground, but they also had like little rides and attractions and things like that. And these workers were working on a particular attraction that they had somehow gotten hot tar onto a light bulb, and that in turn
Oh.
made the light bulb explode. And is within the explosion that it ended up catching the entire building on fire. Um, and what's even worse is the fact that as much as like Coney Island had very, very strict fire codes, Dreamland apparently found themselves exempt from that, and thusly the
Oh.
entire place burnt down to the ground. As much as we like to believe that like it's almost as if Mischief was like the Forrest Gump of well of this story. He just somehow ends up in the like biggest tragedies of mankind. Um, but yeah, Dreamland wasn't up to code and it ended up burning down. But that was a real place, and
Sure.
that was again like a lot of references to real places, and I found that super cool.
A
I
lot of
was
references to a pre 1943 world.
hmm and again like kind of like as much as we have that idea of
Before we were banished to the Shadow Realm.
why why did they kill that fucking gorilla? How could they? You know what was it?
Harambe?
Yeah, Harambe. Apparently
Is
that's
that what
some people believe that's where the timeline shifted.
Wait, really? Like the darkest timeline? Like
Some people believe that the darkest timeline came
Harambe
about after
was
Harambe
the
was shot.
Oh God, I hate that that makes sense. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I think so. It's
Dude.
been downhill from there.
Oh man. Um. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to that I forgot to add to this lineup here. So this was another scene from the film, and this is another really interesting reference because I don't know much about historical clowns, but this was super fascinating. So again, we're introduced to uh, Mischief as being a human, clown, and he works for Dreamland and does really well for himself and becomes like a very big act. But what's interesting is, we like even he's kind of confused why he's named Percy. But I had come to find out that this Percy character um was an actual clown, was an actual person. And the reference to it was a clown, a very famous British clown named Percy Huckster. And
Okay.
yeah, Percy Huckster was a badass. Like during the war, like he basically he helped with like air raid trainings and things like that, and he also did performances for kids to keep their minds off the war. Like the dude was badass. But yeah, it blew my mind that there was actually like a a reference to something within this Percy the Clown. I had like again when we watched the film, I had no idea about any sort of clowns, and now I'm aware of the world's the most famous British clown. That that blew me away. I learned so much from watching this film. And in fact, like I might have actually did not do my due diligence doing enough in-depth reporting
No.
on this film because of the fact that I found the Philadelphia experiment so fascinating. So I think we may
Oh
make
yeah,
we may make an
yeah.
episode on that.
The
That
whole thing?
yeah, the whole thing is super.
Okay.
Oh my goodness! Like there's so many layers to the Philadelphia experiment stuff. Beyond the time travel and things like that, like there's connections to like UFO mania from the time because this was apparently like a
Right,
few years
right, yeah.
prior to when Roswell became a big thing. So like
Okay,
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
you're excused.
Ooh.
Um,
I'm hiccuping fresh weed trim.
always good. But but yeah, at the end of the day, all y'all should be going out and watching this. This is like for free on YouTube, but of course, all like please, please, please support this cat. He's doing some great work for artist rights. He's,
His
something
videos
something.
about super awesome.
I'm sorry?
His videos about soup are awesome.
Oh yeah, and then of course Soup Boy is another really famous one that he did. Um,
Your pantry pal.
your pantry pal. But what a fascinating movie. I would this is definitely recommend to everybody. Um, yeah, if you want a nice little trip out film about space and time without having to watch Wax or the Discovery of Television Amongst the Bees, this would be that film.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
perfect alternative.
very big thumbs up to this film. I loved it. I loved every moment of it. It was I mean, it had these like really unsettling, like long droning parts, very much like what we were talking about with Cronenberg. Just these very long sitting shots on people's faces, or like particularly like unsettling scenery, dilapidated houses, things like that. And again, a lot of the references in this film were great, like absolutely well thought out. Really pushed home the themes of the film, and yeah, just everybody go watch it. It's fucking great.
It's cool.
It is very
Dope as
cool.
shit.
And yeah, that was Umami's Interface. Yeah, go out and watch it. Go support him. Go buy his VHSs. Go. I don't think he's taking commissions right now, but go try and commission some work, because do make some pretty good stuff. Go buy a Mischief. Wait, where was that picture with him and the
Let's see.
Mischief
Can I
bird?
commission him to animate my stupid ideas?
I don't think he can do that. Um, but mm, yeah, because apparently he has like a whole other team that he pays for the general animation, but he does all the framing and things like that. But yeah, I want one of those Mischief flying like fuzzy bird things. That's adorable.
Yeah. I like the bird form.
You gotta flap. It's good for the cardio. What a weirdly wonderful film. Yeah, go check it
It's
out, gang.
great. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that covers it for today. Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna be doing for next week though. I think we might actually
I
go
don't
out
know.
to the Philadelphia experience.
Man.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I mean, I'll try to read up about. I will read up about it.
It's
Yeah, I
interesting.
mean, really, I just continue to be super busy with all my stupid shit.
Oh, dude, no worries, no
But
worries. No,
yeah,
no, yeah, not a problem. But yeah,
I'll
like,
do that. I will talk about the Philadelphia experiment, and I'll see if I can figure out what else we're gonna. Maybe I'll start doing a monster of the week. So I'll try to.
oh yeah,
If we're doing, I'll try to bring something small, as I tend to do if you're doing a
yeah, for
Philadelphia.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
if you
see.
got a monster of the week, I'll start workshopping songs. We'll make a new smash hit better than the All Dads Are Bad song.
Better than all dads are bad. Awesome, great.
Right on. Well, yeah, gang. Thanks to everybody for hanging out today. This has been a very interesting topic to look into, and again, I hope y'all learned something fun for yourselves. And again, go check out Interface, and go watch Crimes of the Future. Fantastic,
Oh
fantastic
yeah,
films. But yeah, yeah, this has been Thought That Was Weird. I'm Thrash Kshu, and that's been CuyaDK. Kuya, as always,
peace.
bud. Thank you so much. Peace, gang.
Yeah,
Have a good
man.
one. Take care.